Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It is the 2 p.m. show and we have got some news for you. Bruno Fernandes to Saudi to Al-Hilal is still on the table, and Al-Hilal have put a deadline on when Bruno Fernandes can make his decision by huge sums of money. If Manchester United lose the Europa League, does that mean Bruno Fernandes could leave Manchester United in the summer? Going to talk about that. Delap has chosen Manchester United as his club in the summer, depending on if we win the Europa League. That is according to a big report coming in from Ben Jacobs, leaning towards Manchester United. We will talk about that. Ruben Amorim said we need to be strong, we need to be brave in the summer. Is that the right choice for the striker for Manchester United? Nouri could be on his way out of Wolves this summer, is on his way out of Wolves this summer. Did Manchester United drop the ball by not going to get him? And also some news coming out from the MEN that Manchester United are targeting a top 6 finish next season. Well, when you're at a club that was expected to finish 15th last season and is currently in 16th place, they better be targeting an absolutely humongous summer in terms of a squad overhaul and top class recruitment if they want to get from expected 15th, 16th to 6th within a season. The squad needs a massive overhaul. I also want to touch on a little bit, I know Goldbridge went big on it on the morning show, so I won't go too far into it, but I want to have my say and my opinion on Ruben Amorim and the absolute backlash he is receiving this morning. I understand why there is criticism towards a manager. We're in 16th place. I get that criticism is warranted. But to think the reason Manchester United are where they are is because of this manager is absolutely absurd. We need to stop blaming the manager and going around this cycle and take a cold, hard look at the squad and if this squad is capable to compete in the Premier League, and I don't think it is. Recruitment is huge, a squad overhaul is huge, and that is exactly what this ownership should be targeting in the summer. They should be backing this manager and giving him, it's not even about players to suit the system, it's about competent footballers that are physically capable to compete in the Premier League. Not all of them, obviously, there's some players at Manchester United that I really am excited to build for the future. But the majority of that squad isn't at the level that's required. It's no coincidence. Expected 15th place finish. That was our expected points. Our expected points would have given us a 15th place finish last season. This season we're in 16th. Getting a new manager won't change that. It's not a coincidence. Whether it's Ten Hag last season, whether it's Amorim this season, whether you would have had Ruud until the end of the season, whether you got someone else in now, that is what this squad are capable of. Wake up and smell the coffee. The players aren't as good as you think they are. There's some of them that you can work with, but that squad altogether, it needs looking at, and we need to improve the squad and just get better quality football players in. That is what Manchester United need to do. But let's get into the transfer news. Get your comments in down below. Let me know how you're feeling. Should we start off on Delap or should we start off on Bruno Fernandes? Let's start off on Delap, because Ruben Amorim's words last night were, and I love this from Ruben Amorim, brave. He's in 16th and he's brave enough to go into the press conference room afterwards and basically make it known publicly that he needs a strong summer by this ownership, or else he could walk out of this job come next season. That's the message I got from it. That is the message I got. He said that he needs a strong summer. He didn't necessarily come out there and say, you need to back me in the summer else I'm walking out. He didn't say it in them terms, but it's all about reading between the lines. He says we need to be brave, we need a strong summer, and then he says if this season, if we continue next season the way we are this season, then we're going to need different people. We're going to need a different person for the job. Basically insinuating that he would walk away. That's how I gathered that. Or he'd get sacked, either one. But he's saying in order to change our fate, we need to change a lot of things. But a big thing that he called out, which he's not really done yet, is saying we need a strong summer, we need to be brave. And I don't even think he's necessarily talking about signings. I think signings is huge, obviously. But I think he's talking about sales and getting rid of some players as well and changing the squad that way and making sure we have the exits that we need as well. So that's something to think about. And when Ruben Amorim talks about a strong summer, where do Manchester United massively need to invest their money into in terms of bringing players in? It's the front line. We all know that. You could go around the whole pitch and there'd be an argument for every single position on the pitch as we need an improvement there. every single position in that Manchester United starting 11, you could argue why we need to go and sign a player of that position. Centre-back's probably the least, but every single position you could argue it, right? But the forward line has massively let this club down this season. Massively. We are nowhere near scoring enough goals, and we do not have quality in that front three. I've said it over and over again. Even West Ham, who are terrible, they're absolutely terrible. They couldn't even get a win against Southampton recently. Bowen and Kudus both walk into our front three. Like, every team in the Premier League, bar the relegation sides, front three, and even the relegation sides, you'd have a little think. Delap, for example, who we're going to talk about in a minute, get into our front three. The quality of our front three really does, it needs to be taken up. So if we need to be brave and we need to be strong in the summer, I expect Manchester United to be targeting a top-class striker that is going to demand service and is not going to crumble under the pressure of putting on that Manchester United shirt and leading the line for Manchester United. Where have Manchester United gone wrong in the past? Continuously, maybe going getting the potential player so you can conserve money a little bit and make sure they still have value for the future instead of just going and getting what you need. Højlund, we went and got the young striker instead of going and getting the striker of the now. We did the same with Xerxes. Them two strikers are both in development. They are both in development. Why would Manchester United, when we need a brave and a strong summer, go for another striker that needs development? And Delap is, in my opinion, better than both of them. However, I do think it's a huge ask to go and get a 22-year-old and expect him to lead the line and solve our goal-scoring problems. I think the fans will turn on him quickly if he doesn't start scoring. I think there'll be huge pressure put on his shoulders. And I think Manchester United need to go out there and get a dominant striker of age that is ready to go and lead that line now in their prime. However, this is the report coming out from Ben Jacobs, so it looks like Liam Delap really is close to joining Manchester United. And it is. Manchester United are optimistic of signing Liam Delap if they win the Europa League. Again, if they win the Europa League. United and Chelsea are currently the two leading Premier League clubs considering triggering Liam Delap's 30 million clause, which is now active as Ipswich are relegated. Delap is waiting to see who gets what at the end of the season, but Manchester United have made a strong pitch already. He is the #1 striker target, and United have the financial means to sign both Delap and Cunha early in the window if they can reach an agreement with both players. Chelsea have a number of strike options, with Delap well known to Enzo Maresca and Chelsea's recruitment team. Delap wants to make a decision before he leaves the Under-21 Championship. And I double-checked this before I went live. The Under-21 Championship starts around the 11th of June, so he'll want to make a decision before that week starts. So early in June, Delap will want his transfer wrapped up and sealed. Manchester United have the capability to sign Cunha and Delap before them. That is what Ben Jacobs is putting out there, and he's been very good on these sort of deals. So I believe what he's saying. I honestly do find it crazy that Liam Delap is still our #1 striker target, even now. I really do. And I don't want to put Delap down because I think we are going to sign him. I genuinely do think we are going to sign Delap. I really do. And I want to back him. And I don't feel like it's his fault already. I think he's got quality. I think he's got attributes. And I think he's got bags of potential. I think if he went to a different Premier League club, I think he'll go and thrive. I really do. But coming into Manchester United when the fans are desperate for a proven goal scorer and are going to give you so little time and patience because we're fed up of waiting on players. We're fed up of, they've got potential. Oh, just give them time. We need it now. We're 16th and we need it now. That is what we need. I don't think Liam Delap fully solves our goal scoring problems. If you go and get a Cunha and an Mbeumo and a Delap, then, you've got goals definitely coming from Cunha and Mbeumo, and maybe it evens it out a little bit and you can have a little bit more patience. But I am sick to death of not having a goal scorer up front for Manchester United. And Liam Delap has proven he can score goals in the Premier League with Ipswich. He has proven that. He has got potential. But everyone I've spoke to, and when I look around, I think is that really the guy that is going to elevate this front three? And I just wish Manchester United was setting their sights higher. Gyökeres to me is absolutely the one, but maybe he doesn't want to come to Manchester United, and that's something else that you've got to think about as well. Bobby Whitby says, just sell Højlund to Italy for 40 for 50 million. It's not that simple. It really isn't that simple. Do you think any club's going to offer you 50 million for Rasmus Højlund right now? Because they're not. Italian clubs are interested in Højlund, Juventus being one of them. But we know how people work, especially when it comes to Manchester United. The offer, the Rasmus Højlund deal in the summer screams that an Italian club's going to offer us a loan obligation to buy, probably for around 25 million, something like that. No one's going to come to Manchester United and say, Rasmus Højlund, who hasn't progressed this season, if anything has regressed, we're going to come and bail you out and pay you 50 million for him. No club's going to do that. They know Manchester United's standpoint. They know that we need a new striker. They'll come in and they'll offer a loan obligation to buy because they'll see the situation that Manchester United are in, and Manchester United can't afford to do that because this summer we are still paying off Rasmus Højlund's transfer fee. That is where Manchester United are at. Sir Jim has said it himself, so it's not as easy as just selling Rasmus Højlund for 50 mil. And even if you did get 50 mil, which you wouldn't, even if you did, you don't just get that 50 mil to go and spend on a striker because we're still paying off Rasmus Højlund's fee. You know, when you look at amortisation, you barely get any money out of that. I think just to break even on Rasmus Højlund, we'd have to sell him for 42 million this summer. That is the situation with Rasmus Højlund, and I very, very, very much doubt that any club is going to even give us 42 million. Also, when you speak about getting young strikers in, by the way, Rasmus Højlund, I think we can all agree, is not good enough to lead the line for Manchester United. However, most people were very excited when he joined the club. I understand he's not as experienced as Delap is, and getting Delap, because Delap's actually been and gone and done it in the Premier League and scored goals for a side that's getting relegated. Scored quite a few in the Premier League. Højlund had like half a season, scored 8 goals for Atalanta, was it, when we signed him? 9 maybe. So Delap is more experienced. However, I think people need to rewind. I get it, and I agree. We need better than Rasmus Højlund up front for Manchester United. He doesn't even look like he was when he first came through the door. He has regressed, and I am worried about him. However, I think people need to rewind. When we did sign him, everybody wanted him. Well, a lot of people wanted him. I won't say everybody. PSG were going to sign him if Manchester United didn't. Rasmus Højlund chose Manchester United because he's a boyhood United fan, but PSG were willing to pay a pretty penny to go and sign Rasmus Højlund, and look at the young players that they've gone and signed and how well they're doing in terms of their recruitment. PSG were firmly in that race, and a lot of people were talking about how Rasmus Højlund, this guy, he's a young up-and-coming striker. A load of Italian clubs were interested in him. There was big noise coming out of Italy about this young striker Rasmus Højlund, and PSG were battling us to sign him. Liam Delap has got a lot of noise now after 1 season in the Premier League. He looks good, he's got attributes, he's scored goals, but he's still only 22. He's just not experienced enough for what Manchester United need. It's like feeding him to the lion's den. And I think Manchester United, it does worry me that he is consistently our number 1 target. And he is going to be our number 1 target. And I hope to God if we sign him, he goes out there and smashes it. But to me, it just feels like doing the same thing over and over again. You went for a young striker in Højlund. You went for a young striker in Xerxes. None of them have been able to grip that striker position and say, I'm Manchester United's 20-goal-a-season striker. I'm going to be one of the best strikers in the league. And that's what playing up front for Manchester United should demand. You have to be up there with the Isaks. You have to be up there with the Watkins. You have to be up there with the top strikers in the Premier League, the Haalands even. And I get it, United are in 16th. You can't demand a player like that to come to your club. However, if we do win that Europa League and we do get Champions League, there is a more attractive prospect on offer, and we should be aiming to get the best possible in class in the positions that we need most, and I feel like we're failing to do that. But get in the comments down below what you think as well. Also, Ben Jacobs did put out there that Delap was leaning to go into Manchester United, but Champions League is a big factor in this. Champions League is a huge factor. If Chelsea get Champions League and we lose to Spurs in the final, I don't even want to say it out loud, generally don't even want to say it out loud, Delap will go to Chelsea. He wants to play in the Champions League. And then where does it put Manchester United? Osman goes to Saudi, Delap goes to Chelsea because they've got Champions League, Gyökeres joins Arsenal. Where do Manchester United go then? There's not many top-class strikers on the market for Manchester United to actually go and get for a reasonable fee that we can afford as well, and wages. And that's another thing with Delap. To me, if I asked you, and I'll bring some comments in a second, do you think Manchester United are going for Liam Delap because they think he's the best possible striker to play up front for Manchester United next season? Or do you think they're going for Liam Delap because of the £30 million release clause and because his wages are affordable and he wants around 150 grand a week? Whereas other prospects are going to want probably more around the 200 grand a week at least, and are going to cost double, around 60-ish million. Why do you think Manchester United are going for him? Because he's the best possible candidate to go and be that 20-goal-a-season striker next season, or is it because of the money? And I think we all know the answer to that question. Rob, and I get it, we should be thinking about both. Omar Barada, when we actually signed him to be our CEO, I went back and watched the documentary, the City documentary, and he said it has to be a balance. They have to tick all the boxes in terms of the footballing side of things, but it also has to be a financially responsible deal. It has to financially make sense. That's why City pulled out of the Maguire deal. That's why they pulled out of the Fred deal at the time, because they both wanted Fred and Maguire before they went to United, but the money was too high for them, so they pulled out. It's got to be a balance of both. I understand that, but it's not as if Gyökeres and Osimhen are demanding hundreds of millions. Osimhen's release cost is 62.5. Gyökeres has an agreement with Sporting Lisbon, a gentleman's agreement to go for around 60 million. Both them strikers are probably at least £80 million strikers. So you're saving money there. Strikers is the most expensive position in football. For both of them to be on the market for around £60 million would be unheard of. But because of their situations with Sporting and Napoli, you've got that opportunity. Osman's wage might be too high. That might rule him out, potentially, yeah. But we should at least be exploring them deals, at least. Rob Always United says, Beth, I can't imagine anyone better than Delap wanting to come to our rubbish club at the moment. Do you know what? That's a sad truth of it as well. Rob Always United, a great super chat in. That is the sad truth, because who wants to walk into this club? Us as United fans, we want the best of the best. And if we win the Europa League, we do become a lot more attractive, but you still got a project there where players are going to be saying, well, you've just come 16th in the league. What's the plans for next season? Who else are you signing? Because I don't want to be battling for bottom of the Premier League. I want to be up there, and apparently United are targeting a top 6 finish, so stay tuned on that. But yeah, I completely understand that. And how do we get the money in? Maybe Bruno Fernandes, that he might end up, I don't want him to, but we'll move on to that story in a second. But just quickly to wrap up on the Delap thing, and we might come back to it as we get into the show, and a lot of people are agreeing it's because Delap is cheap. Rob Taft says Delap gets relegated but wants 150 grand a week and Champions League. Get over yourself. Well, he's got like 7, 8, 9, 10 clubs interested in him. Chelsea are right in the race. So he has, when you've got that many clubs battling for you, you have the right to say, this is what I want. This is what happens when you have a £30 million release clause. A lot of clubs are going to be interested in that because, as I said, quality strikers are hard to come by. Quality strikers for that sort of price, barely ever on the table. Striker is the most expensive position in football. So a lot of people are seeing Delap, young, 22, resale value. Resale value is what a lot of clubs are seeing. Young, so you've got time, and 30 million release clause. Hello. Like, that's what they're seeing with him. So he's got a lot of options, because strikers are usually way more expensive. But just on the Delap thing, and just to come back to Amorim saying we need a strong summer and we need to be brave. When we asked Amorim in, where was it? It was in Spain, in Bilbao, when we went and played Athletic Club. I asked him the question, the United stand, this is what we do. We try and ask questions that the fans want to know. We said, do you want someone who can teach the young strikers we've already got and give them experience? Do you want an experienced striker? Or do you want to bring in another young striker and make them into the Gyökeres like you did? You helped make Gyökeres one of the best strikers in Europe. Do you want to do that with another young talent, i.e. bring Delap in and build him up? Or do you want to bring in the ready-made product, i.e. what Gyökeres is now, to help the likes of the Højlunds and the Xerxes? And Amorim answered it very cleverly. He didn't give me a straight-up answer, but he very much had emphasis on, we need to help the young strikers we already have. How do you help the young strikers you already have? You don't bring in another young striker who also needs, some experience. You bring in the experienced pedigree striker to help them, take the pressure off them, and help them in training. I think Amorim was very, very careful and smart in the way he answered that question. And I think if you asked Amorim, do you want the experienced 20-goal a season striker, or do you want to, take another punt on a youngster and build them up? I think he would go with the experience right now because we are desperate for goals. That doesn't mean Delap's a lost cause. I think he's a good player with potential. I've got to emphasise that. It's just coming into United right now. It is so tough for any player. You can see it's tough. Amorim was absolutely killing it with Sporting. Managers have come in here and they've done incredibly well. They've come to United and all of a sudden everyone's saying, they're nothing, they're not good enough, and the records are going down the drain. Players we've signed have done fantastic at other clubs. They come to United, everyone's a flop. You're not good enough. Why have they signed them? They're rubbish. Then they leave United, winning Player of the Month in Serie A. They are doing fantastically well at other clubs. Like, how many players leave United and do really well and everyone was calling them rubbish when they're at United? It's such a tough place to come to. You really need that strength, that character and the resilience. And some of the only players to withstand it is like Bruno Fernandes, who might be leaving in the summer. We'll talk about that. Lenny Yoro, for me, the Amal of centre-backs, generational. When you've got that generational talent, you kind of do withstand that pressure cooker, which he's managed to do. Ahmad, again, for me, generational talent. But beyond that, it's a lot of good players sink at United. It's going to be tough. You've got Ben the AI saying, the stress from watching Man United matches are really wearing me down. I literally kicked in my TV, Amorim style. Yeah, it's yesterday I felt low. I felt so low. I was having a conversation walking back from the game with Ricky, and I just said, Ricky, I've been in love with this club since the day I can remember, and they are really testing me right now. Really testing me. It's soul-sucking, it really is. But anyway, how do we get the money for a brave summer, for a strong summer? Well, Bruno Fernandes hasn't yet made his decision on Al-Hilal. Just to pre-warn this, I don't think he'll go, but I'll read the news. And this, again, is coming from Ben Jacobs, I'm actually going to message him and get in on the show for an interview because he has got absolutely fantastic connections to Saudi, and I really do trust him when it comes to this sort of information. He said Al-Hilal are still in touch with the Bruno Fernandes camp. There will be a new meeting this week and Fernandes will be given just 1 week to give a final answer due to the urgency of Al-Hilal lining up signings ahead of the Club World Cup. Manchester United position remains that Fernandes is not for sale. While the Manchester United captain is given no encouragement to date, he told Al-Hilal last year that he wanted to stay at United until at least after the 2026 World Cup. Al-Hilal have also got Aston Villa's Youri Tielemans as another midfield option on their radar and believe a 55 to 60 million euro bid would be accepted. Tell you what, Aston Villa are raking it in off the Saudi Pro League. Duran, now you've got Youri Tielemans on the agenda. By the way, Youri Tielemans has had a fantastic season. He's actually, gone under the radar. Gone under the radar in terms of team of the season. Sorry, I've kind of lost my train of thought then because I saw a comment creep into my viewpoint from Azik's live saying Ahmad is good but not generational. Maybe generational is a bit far. I truly believe Lenny Yoro is generational. Ahmad is good, very good. Maybe I'm going too far because I'm so starved of any sort of quality in the front line at Manchester United that Ahmad appears to be generational to me because of the rest of the stuff I have to watch from other players. But yeah, maybe that was a bit far, to be honest with you. Maybe it was. But Manchester United are 16th. Like, could you imagine Manchester United without Bruno Fernandes? And I know a lot of people would say, yeah, we'd be better, i.e. Ricky, still talking about that. I don't believe we would. I really do believe the output you get from Bruno Fernandes more than makes up for the flaws that he has as a player, because he does have flaws, but the good outweighs the bad, in my opinion. And on Bruno, I mean, I've said it multiple times, a lot of people just see you could get 120 million, like 120 million for a 30-year-old. Oh my gosh, let me lay it out to you really, really quick. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Bruno's got at least 5 years left at the top level, in my opinion. He's going to transition into a deep-lying midfielder. Amorim's already started that process. He looks after his body fantastically well. He never gets injured, touch wood. It's like he's made out of metal. He's a machine. He is the heart and soul of this football club. He's a brilliant captain. He's involved in the youth massively. Every single person I've ever come into contact with at Manchester United speaks glowingly about Bruno. He directs the team on the pitch. He directs us off the pitch. He is a fantastic person. He's the heartbeat of that team. And I feel like if you remove a player like that, do you know how much it costs to replace a player like that? I look at Manchester United and I think the only three players with like 100% certainty I can say would thrive in like a top team would be Bruno Fernandes, Lenny Yoro and Ahmad. If I'm missing someone, let me know. But they're the three sort of players. Why are we getting rid of our best players? Why are we doing that? We should be looking at everybody else before we look at the Yoro, the Ahmad and the Bruno, because they're the three that is like, they are up to the standard we need. I think they could all play for top clubs in the Premier League and in Europe. So why are we removing one of the best three? And he's the captain as well. I don't think Manchester United will sell him. He's not up for sale according to Ben Jacobs. However, what might change this, and this is why I wanted to bring it up into the show, and what might change it is, if, God forbid, and I've not even thought about if we'll lose this Europa League, but it could happen. Like Spurs have beat us 3 times this season. I just watched Angie's press conference for the Europa League, because you do like a press day. United's is on Wednesday, Spurs was today, and I've just watched Angie's press conference, and I'm worried. I'm worried about the Europa League final, I really am. And I'm actually gone into the camp where I actually think we should play quite a strong team against Chelsea on Friday, because I think the momentum of a win will massively help us going into that final. That West Ham game just made everyone feel so low, and the mood feels so low. United need a boost of confidence going into that Europa League final. But on a different note, if United lose that final, which is a possibility, it's a Premier League side that beat us 3 times this season. I hope we win it. I really hope we win it, obviously. I'm banking on us to win it. I don't think anyone's even thought about if we don't win it. But if we don't, Bruno could think, sack this. I'm going getting 1.25 mil a week. Sack this. Because even though I think he's got at least 5 years left at the top level, Bruno Fernandes, with the nick and condition he's in, United won't be in Europe the whole of next season. Is there really any guarantees we're going to get in Europe next season? Will Bruno need some guarantees about how we're going to recruit this summer? He's had guarantee. He sat down with the board previously before he signed his contract and asked about where the club's heading and the direction, because he wants to win things and he wants to compete. And we're in 16th this season. Is he going to trust the board when they tell him, no, we really do we're aiming for a top 6 finish. We really want to compete next season. We're going to have a really strong summer. We're going to compete. Well, you said that to me last season. You said that to me last season, Sir Jim. We're in 16th. So Bruno, if we don't get into the Europa League, he's not give Al-Hilal an answer yet. Might think, you know what, am I really going to be part of the team, a Man United team that goes and competes for Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues? Because that's what he wants to do. I don't think a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup is... FA Cup, obviously, is a great trophy to win, but I don't think that's going to entice Bruno to the level that he wants. Like, what he wants to win at Manchester United, bottom line, is Premier League and a Champions League. How far off are Manchester United from winning a Premier League and the Champions League? Well, if you look at us yesterday, you'd say absolutely miles. Absolutely miles off it. So if United win the Europa League, we're in a position where we've luckily got into the Champions League, gives us more budget to recruit well in the summer. And don't get me wrong, I don't think United are going to win the Champions League next season. I really don't. But you've got to be in it to win it. Like, Bruno Fernandes would then have to walk away from Champions League football with United, and there is obviously a possibility you could win it. I don't think we will, but there is a possibility. with a good summer, and you never know if you get a good cup run. Like Dortmund were in the final. Was it last year? You've seen teams get to the final before that, underdogs in that competition, and you wouldn't put your money on it to win it, or put your money on them to win it. I don't think United are anywhere near winning a Champions League. But what I'm trying to say is, if the Champions League's on the cards for United next season, I think Bruno will want to stay and he will want to try and compete. However, if we're out of Europe, it might be more tempting for him to take that money at Al-Hilal, absolutely life-changing money, and go and play over there. And Manchester United, if we don't get into the Champions League, might be going around scratching their heads thinking, we need money from somewhere. Are we going to sell Garnacho? Are we going to sell Mainu? They're pure profit. There's 120 million on the table from Saudi for Bruno. Like, that could go far. So United might start to think like that. I hope they don't. But that's where it's going to get to, because financially we will be massively, massively up against it. And when you've got a manager saying, we need a strong summer, we need recruitment, and you've got no money, like, you're going to start to look around like that. So I really, really, really hope that Bruno stays. I think the mentality of a top club that wants to better themselves and wants to build for Amorim needs to listen to the manager. Amorim has made it very, very clear publicly that he wants Bruno to stay, and he wants him to be part of the team. If he wants to win Premier Leagues, Bruno needs to stay. Amorim's made his voice very clear. He wants Bruno Fernandes to stay. I think the ownership need to back Amorim on that and do their best to keep Bruno. And by keep Bruno, not force him into a sale. If Bruno wants to leave, then Bruno wants to leave, but not force him into a sale. And I think we need to be very strong in the summer to get better players around Bruno and for Amorim to build into next season. Don't sell your best players, keep your best players. That's what I'm saying. We need to be filtering out the rest of the squad before we even look at the likes of the Brunos, the Yoros, the Amads, the best players in this squad that I truly do think are capable of playing at that top level. So that's my stance on it. And I think Amorim's also been very clever in the sense of, he's publicly said multiple times that the club want to keep Bruno and Bruno's part of the project, and we need to keep him. So Aaron's been clever, because if Bruno, does entertain Al-Hilal and does want to leave, Aaron's made it very clear it's Bruno's decision to do that. It's not the club, it's not him, it's Bruno's decision. If Bruno wants to leave, that's Bruno's call. But it's not the club and it's not Amorim. They want to keep him. So he's basically put the ball in Bruno's court, Ruben Amorim, which I think is very clever of him to do, because everyone will know if Bruno does leave and he does go to Al-Hilal, that it's his decision. He's left to go and play for Al-Hilal. And to be honest with you, I love Bruno and I want him to stay. And if I know Bruno, I think I know Bruno, I don't know him personally, but just based off his behaviours and what I've heard about him as a person, I actually don't think he will. I don't think he will take that money. And it's life-changing money. It's life-changing money, that. And I don't think he will. I think he will stay. Because that's the kind of guy he is, and he truly does love the club. He loves the club massively. Massively. However, if you don't get into that Champions League football, what will be there at United for him to be like, this is why I should be turning down 1.25 mil a week, because I could do this with United, I could do that with United. If there's no Champions League football, I do think he seriously considers that Saudi offer. But yeah, let's see what happens. What do you guys think? Get your comments in the chat. Do you think Bruno will go to Saudi? Do you think he'll entertain it? He's not yet given them an answer. I honestly do genuinely think Bruno going to Saudi depends on if we win the Europa League final. I think if we're in the Champions League next season, he stays. I think if we lose and there's no European football, he might think about taking that money over in Saudi. Let me know what you think. Tell you what, he deserves better than what he's currently being served up at United. I was watching him yesterday for against West Ham, and he just looked so deflated. Like, you could see, obviously he's not going to say it, but I bet he thinks, what the hell am I playing with? What the hell have I got around me? What have I got to work with here? Genuinely, you could see it on his face. And he deserves better. He absolutely does. Ben, the AI, says, also, Amorim's system is not a system. It's creative, intelligent football people. Like Inzaghi, it's just that these players are used to playing stupid. Well, yeah, I want to bring this up as well. Let me get this up because I tweeted it earlier and I wanted to bring it into the show. and this is on Amorim, right? So Marty Emball put this on X, so I need to bring it in. A lot of people are questioning, has Amorim shown anything to be backed by the board in the summer? Do people genuinely realise the situation we're in, or do they have no clue? We don't need new players because Amorim wants them and as I add on to this, we don't need new players for the system. We need new players because the majority of them are awful. Before Amorim, we were 14th and now we're 16th. We were rubbish with a back four and we are rubbish with a back three. Liverpool could easily switch to a back three with 2 to 3 new signings. City could easily do it with the players they have. PSG could easily do it with the players they have. Madrid are doing it from next season with 2 to 3 new signings. It's not about signing players who suit the 3-4-3 formation only. It's about signing players who can play in any formation. We lack quality, we lack finishers, we lack physicality, we lack creativity, and we lack footballing IQ. On top of that, we get outrun by literally every opponent, and these people are talking about how Amorim doesn't deserve new players. Are you kidding me? And I think that's so bang on, it's untrue. I think it's so bang on. It's not about, because people keep telling me, but what if you spend all these money on Amorim players and then the next manager wants to play with wingers? And you've got a situation where you've signed Cunha, you've signed this player, and you've signed players for the system, and it's like the very niche players. We need to sign better players. We need to sign creative, intelligent, good at finishing, putting it in the back of the net, physical, can fit the pace of the Premier League, can compete in the Premier League. Like West Ham are rubbish. They hadn't had a win in the last 6 games, or 6 games was it yesterday? They dominated us physically, won the midfield battle, bullied us, took the mick out of us towards the end. It's like we really do need to up the levels across the whole squad. We really, really do. Also, just on Amorim saying we need to be strong in the summer, this is another interesting one that I wanted to bring into the show. So this came from Fabrizio Romano. Wolves left-back Ryan Ait-Nouri has signed with CAA Stella as new representatives. Algerian left-back one to watch in the summer as he can leave with several clubs keen on signing him after 5 goals and 7 assists this season. Amorim spoke... Oh, these are my next notes. Romano didn't say Amorim spoke. He just mentioned that Ait-Nouri is going to be on his way out of Wolves this season with several clubs keen on signing him, and he's signed with new representatives. Ait-Nouri only has a year left on his deal. It expires in June 2026. If you cast our minds back to the start of this season, when we knew we desperately needed a left back and we desperately needed a left wing back. And if you cast your minds back to when Amorim initially signed as manager for Manchester United and everyone was talking about the wing backs and who's going to play there, what top 3 signings does Amorim need in his new system, we're all having them conversations. Even in January when we knew we were targeting a left wing back. I'm not going to act like I'm the messiah of football here. Most people said this as well. Ait-Nouri was bang top of my list. You can go back to shows, you can go back to the reels, the YouTube shorts, whatever. I said Ait-Nouri is the player we should be signing at left wing back. A lot of people saying he's going to be so expensive from Wolves. He has a year left on his deal. I knew that then and I knew it now. Like, he has a year left on his deal, so Wolves are going to want to cash in because they don't want him to go on a free transfer. He's not going to be massively expensive. A player of his quality and what he's produced in the Premier League usually demands a very high fee, and if he had 4 or 5 years left on his contract, Wolves would be saying 60, 65 million, I can guarantee it, but they don't have the leg room to do that because he's got a year left in his deal and he will run his contract down and go on a free if they don't sell him this summer. Ait-Nouri ticks every single box you would want for a left wing back in an Amorim system. Brilliant getting forward, he's like a winger, can do the defensive work, but we know his main attribute and where he's best is going down that wing. His crosses into the box are fantastic. His link-up play with Cunha has been brilliant for Wolves this season. Like, I see him and Cunha link up all the time. We're already signing Cunha. I think he's 23. Let me have a look at how old he is. Yeah, he's 23. because I've looked into him multiple times before, so I remember his age. He's 23, so he's still young. He's Premier League proven. He is everything you would want for a left wing back in an Amorim system, right? And it baffles me, and I tweeted this out, it baffles me how often we ignore blatantly obvious good signings. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've got a couple of things wrong in my past. We all know, right? Everyone gets something wrong. You know, every club's got things wrong. Pep Guardiola's got things wrong. But I am just a fan. You guys are just fans. We all said back in December to sign Aït-Nouri. He had a year left on his deal. And he's Premier League proven, he's 23, suits Amorim's system. Everyone was saying it. We've not been linked. I think we got linked to him for what, about 2 weeks maybe? Why we've not been in this race absolutely baffles me. We consistently ignore blatantly obvious good signings. And I'm sorry, Aït-Nouri is 10 times what Dorgu is right now. And I'm not putting Dorgu down. I'm really, really not, because I think he's got attributes. We got him for a decent fee. And I really do hope that, you know, he comes on and I think we've got a player for the future there. He's only 20. He's young. He's coming in from Syria. He's coming in from Lecce midway through a season in a crucial position that the fans have been crying out for a long time. I don't want to go in on Dorgu, but he's developmental. He's a learner driver. He's a learner driver, as Goldbridge would say. But Aït-Nouri is still only 23, so he's still young. He's still inexperienced, but also, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And Aït-Nouri, like, what he's done in the Prem for Wolves, he's just levels above what we've got. He's levels above what we've got. Why we've not gone for him, I don't know. And you look at it, right, if we really do want to do a proper rebuild, these are the type of players we need to be targeting. It really is. We've got Leon coming in the summer. Is he ready? We don't know. I'm assuming not, considering I think he's 17, 18. And we don't know. I think he's going to go on the what I've heard is he's going to go on the pre-season tour, Amorim, and he's going to assess him and see if he needs a loan. Armas, we've seen Armas. He's got qualities. He looks like he's got a lot of potential. The word potential gives me nightmares, the amount I say it on these shows. He's got a lot of potential. And, you know, credit to him for getting some game time towards the back end of this season. It's been good to see him. I think, you know, he's definitely got qualities, but he's not ready to start for United. And so that means Dorgu, you know, is probably going to be our only proper left wing-back option next season. Dalot can play there, but we all know Dallow's way better on the right. We need to be going, like, for a player like Aït-Nouri. Wing-backs are so crucial to his system. Dorgu can play on the right. I prefer him on the left, but he can play on the right. Amorim's often played left-footers on that right-hand side. He's played Ahmad there as a right wing-back who's predominantly left-footed. So there is room for Aït-Nouri to still come into this team. I think he's definitely someone that we should be targeting, I'm going to be honest. I really do. Armas is probably going to go out on loan. Dalot is way better at right wing-back. Leon, is he going to be ready? Dorgu's developmental. I don't think he's... Let's put it this way. I think he's got attributes and he's got qualities, but I don't think he's good enough to be starting week in, week out if we're properly competing towards the top of the Prem, which is what we want to be doing. We should really go and be looking at going and getting Aït-Nouri if we're serious about being strong and bold in the summer and giving Amorim good quality options within his squad. It's a squad game at the end of the day. It is a squad game and we need options and we need a deep squad. So, yeah, that is my opinion on the Aït-Nouri thing. And last but not least, I wanted to bring in, it was coming from the MEN that Manchester United are targeting a top 6 finish in the Premier League. I don't know where they've got this from. I don't know if someone's told them that directly. But again, if you want a top 6 finish, you've seriously got to get your summer right. And it's going to be a huge squad overhaul. A huge squad overhaul. Ruben Amorim said it himself. Like, Ruben Amorim literally said yesterday he doesn't even know if Champions League football will be good for this team because he didn't say it directly, but he can infer. He basically said it might paper over the cracks and we need to learn how to compete in the Premier League, and it's going to make this team seem better than what they are. We're a 16th place Premier League side and it's just not good enough. So a strong summer is required. How do you do that? we'll have to wait and see. But look, everyone, that is the news. Scooby says, what's the obsession with Aït-Nouri? There's no obsession. I'm just telling you, for Wolves this season, he's got 5 goals, 7 assists. He was fantastic last season. He's 23. He's a left wing-back. Amorim plays with wing-backs. It's Premier League proven. And wing-backs are a crucial part of Amorim's system. And he's got a year left on his deal, so you could get him for good money. That's my obsession. I think United should actually be signing players that make sense. It's like an open goal. But we've not even looked at it, I don't think. I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. But look, everyone, get in the comments down below. Do you think Bruno will go? What are your thoughts on Delap? It's looking highly likely that Manchester United are going to sign him, and he could be one of our first signings. He could be our first signing even, him or Cunha. Is that good enough for where we want to go? Is that brave enough? Is that strong enough for Ruben Amorim? Get your comments in down below, how you think this summer's going to go. Let me know your thoughts. Transfer season is well and truly in the swing of things now, and it's only going to start getting busier. So thank you everyone for watching. Hit a like on the video, and I will see you on the next one.